There's three questions I can refer to Chief Cole after you're done.
Okay.
Okay?
The last question also came up in the management letter, and that was the theft and/or underbilling of scrap metal from Public Works. There was Public Works accumulates scrap metals during the course of their operations. And what was happening was, according to the management letter, this was being sold by individuals over there for their personal gain, as opposed to being sold and recouped back into the municipal coffers. Mr. Lowley maybe can touch on that.
Well, you used the word theft.
Well, if you don't own it and you take the money from the sale of it, I think that's theft. But correct me if I'm wrong there.
Well, yeah, I don't want to embellish any terms here, but
Okay, well, it was taxpayers' scrap metal that was sold, and where's the money going to now?
Okay, my understanding on that, okay, is that that money was used for a Christmas party that the Public Works Department put on
So the taxpayers pay for municipal employees' parties?
for scrap metal. That is wherever the scrap metal comes from.
The scrap metal comes from our signs.
I mean, I don't know
From
where,
garbage
John,
pickup?
I don't know
No.
where this.
Garbage
no.
pickup?
No, there should be, if they change a stop sign, the old stop sign becomes scrap metal and it's being sold for scrap. It was being sent to a scrapper using municipal vehicles, using municipal employees, and then that money was not turned back into the municipality. So even if it's being used for Christmas party, it still should go through our treasury department.
Well, there's no question about that should be put into a separate kitty. Now, I wasn't here last year, and as far as you're talking about, as far as the money was not being accounted for in its proper procedure, and there was a theft, I'm not aware of that. Let me answer your question, John, okay? Now, it's a policy of this council, as it was a policy with the previous council, whether or not the money used, a good example on your part, but Mike Adams, I don't know if Mike's here tonight, if Mike Adams can say, okay, I don't know personally where the scrap comes from, but your example, as far as a stop sign, for instance, a used stop sign, all right, good example.
Used brake drums.
Used brake drums, okay, another good example. And all this is scrap.
Right.
Okay, and you are correct. Somewhere down the line, obviously, taxpayers paid for that,
Correct.
unquestionably.
Correct.
Now, if this council makes a policy decision, no, that money cannot be used for the Public Works Christmas party, then it's not. If they make a policy decision that it is, then it is,
Can I interrupt real quick?
okay?
Last year, I know all the monies from the scrap went back to the municipality because I worked real hard to get money donated for that Christmas party.
Well, I actually did a right-to-know request on the receipts for that, and I recall only getting one receipt, and I believe it was for batteries, but I could be mistaken.
That I can't answer.
You know, if you drive around, every handyman in America now is a scrapper because of the value of metals. Obviously, the stop sign example that I used with you is a large example, and it's a visible example. It's probably also the least valuable example. It's the copper wires, the copper. I don't know what's in a brake drum, but I imagine there's some
They use batteries.
significant
lead.
metal leads that have some value to them to a scrapper. Do we pay for other Christmas parties out of municipal tax dollars?
No, that's the only one that
So we're paying for Christmas parties using revenue generated from scrap.
I wouldn't call it revenue, John.
There.
Well, it amounts to several $1,000s a year.
To tell you the truth, I don't know what it amounts to. I wasn't here. I have been here in the past, as you
Well, it
well
was
know,
occurring
when
while
the
you were here,
Christmas
too.
party was in December. I wasn't here. But again, if it has to be accounted for, just like you're saying, no question about it, John.
Okay.
It has to be, and nobody can be taking scrap metal that is garnered from the Public Works Department or any other place in this municipality, taking it and taking it to a scrapyard and not accounting for it with Mike Adams, the superintendent of the Public Works Department, unquestionably. Now, if we get a few $1,000s in here, and I would not call that revenue, all right? If we get a few $1,000s in here too, I don't know what the amount is, to tell you the truth. let's say $2,000, and council says, yes, as has been traditionally done, a Christmas party for all the employees is done at the Public Works Department, then that's their democratic right, legislative right, to say, and if they get feedback, let me
Shouldn't there be an ordinance or some type of legislative action that
Well,
allows that to occur?
They can pass a motion,
Okay,
all right? They can pass a motion to that
certainly
effect.
can, but I don't believe I've ever seen one of those.
Maybe not.
Okay.
And maybe there should be, and you may have a point. But my point being is that we're talking about it now. I don't think there's anybody trying to hide how that was, that party down there, the Christmas party, is being funded. Now, the previous council, they didn't like that. That was their call. All right? And this is this council, and again, if they don't like it, they can also rescind that, and there's no Christmas party unless everybody pitches in or whatever the case might be.
If I may interrupt, Mr. Johns is correct. That was corrected because last year
It was
you did-
corrected, and it was a total of $1,200 that I had donated.
Okay, so there should be from last year's receipts now for the scrap metal being submitted.
That I don't, I'm sure there are, but.
Oh, you mean for this year,
Yeah. For this year, I'm sure.
Okay. Because, my understanding was,
If they've taken it down.
I mean, I probably haven't done so
Sometimes
yet.
don't take it down till later in the year.
I had talked to several people who had firsthand knowledge of it going down there, and that it amounted to, each trip was several $1,000s.
I do know in the past that there was a drop-off, a box donated by one of the scrap yards, that if it was filled, people would come and throw old washing machines, refrigerators, whatever in it. Once it was filled, they'd come pick it up, take it down, and they'd pay us.
And who got that money?
I guess, Monroeville, Public Works.
Public Works or Monroeville?
Monroeville. I mean, I don't know.
Okay, so
I'm
somewhere-
just saying I can recall there being a drop-off box.
Okay, so there should be somewhere an income for those. If you're talking about a dumpster that size, it's got to be multiple $1,000s, more than two.
I can't answer.
Okay. Lastly, it was mentioned